Coach, how we doing tonight?
Good. How are you guys?
Good, good. All right. Who has got a question here? Who's going to kick us off? Joel Coleman, go ahead.
Hey, Coach. Just when you think back and you watch film, you've seen what you guys did last Saturday at LSU. Just kind of your first impressions on LSU, how you guys performed, and maybe what this week's been about as far as getting better.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing would just be consistency as far as this week. It just in all of our reps, whether it be in a pass pro or ball in our hands or any of those scenarios. There was one or two plays I'd like to get back from last week. But overall, I mean, obviously a pretty good performance as far as yardage and helping the chains move and doing some good stuff with the ball in our hands. So good starting point, good foundation. I think there's a lot more room to grow, which is exciting, but consistency is kind of the theme for this week.
Next, we'll go to Ben Portnoy.
Coach, just with the route running, I know it's a little bit, I know these guys haven't run a ton of routes up until this year, but at least through game one, what did you kind of see from at least Colin and Jaquavius, and what have you seen from maybe some of the other guys in practice, at least at this point, kind of heading into Arkansas week?
Yeah, no, there's an attention to detail there, and they're starting to realize, the sharper the route, the crisper the route, kind of selling something that they're not, doing, selling something else, instead of just running to the open space. Really been pretty good at that. Dylan Johnson caught one in the game as well on an angle route there. So really all three of those guys, Lee Witherspoon too, same thing. Big emphasis on not dropping any balls, obviously, first off, and then making sure that you don't sacrifice the integrity of those routes because it creates more space for you. Get the defender, get him widened out, and then bursting out your cuts, those types of things. So I think they see a little bit of that success and a little bit of those results if you kind of really stay true to what those routes are supposed to look like.
Next, we'll go to Steve Robertson.
Coach, pass protection, it seemed like it was kind of a mixed bag. Kyle, I know, had a couple of them, but when you went back and watched the film, how do you feel like your guys skirted out as far as pass pro?
Yeah, so there's two. Really, when I look back at the last week, those are the two most disappointing plays. Kylan had one and Jaquavius had one. And really, there's zero tolerance for any kind of either a bust on pass protection or bad execution with technique. So, that's a big day on Wednesday for us. So they were out there a couple of individual periods today working on their technique and making sure we know where we're going to and IDing that guy right away. Overall, I thought we held up, for game one. Not disappointed, but definitely some room to improve there.
Next, we'll go to Paul Jones.
Good deal in their first game. Looking back, what do you expect from those guys their debut?
From the two freshmen, you broke up a little bit. Two freshmen. Yeah, I mean, I think the lights weren't too bright for either one of them, which is always kind of the first thing you judge with those guys, which was which is great to see. So I think they were confident in their abilities, and both guys want the ball in their hands. But I really have no problem either one of those guys kind of trotting out there on the field going forward either. So they both graded out pretty good, and excited to see them continue to develop as we go along each week. But again, as a starting point for two guys that should be or just finished up high school, it's good to see what they did out there.
Next, we'll go back to Joel Coleman.
What's Kylan's reaction kind of been? I guess in the past he probably measured success more so by the number in the rushing column and things, and to have a game where it's really his receiving ability. There will probably be more games like that. I mean, what's kind of his reaction been this week?
It's been good. I mean, obviously there's a bunch of records that come along with doing a bunch of things that backs don't typically do. So he had a bunch of that, but really focusing on let's put that past us and work on getting better and again being consistent. Let's do that week in and week out. But I think it's exciting for him. I mean, he wanted to work on that part of his game, and we had a lot of plays out there that kind of can showcase some of his abilities. But he's got to keep doing it. He's got to keep doing it. And then obviously when we get opportunities in the run game, we're gonna keep making those plays too. But fun couple of days, and then obviously it's on the Arkansas week.
We'll go to Brian Haydad.
Coach, maybe a little bit more lighthearted question here, but have you heard from a lot of MSU fans who are simply not used to seeing a Bulldog team only run the ball 16 times for 9 yards in a game?
Haven't heard too much yet, but I'll just refer them to the all-purpose column and just tell them, if you want 200 rushing, that's just not us, but we'll give you 200 all-purpose instead, that type of thing. But That's what we do. I mean, that's what the air raid's based off of. We're gonna spread the field and put a bunch of athletes out there and make guys tackle guys in space. And when you have a couple of running backs back there that are as good as anybody we have at the skill position, that's just us using our advantage. So I think more opportunities will come. When teams want to blitz us like that, we're gonna take shots over the top on them. And when teams sit back and want to play coverage, we're gonna have our opportunities in the run game. So it'll be fun, kind of week to week, to see how we attack people.